where we pull out the sr20vet and we figure out how much damage a broken spark plug tip. This isn't the one, but we lost the porcelain or the ceramic tip. So anyway, I was already planning to do a full turbo kit, turbo manifold. There's all the parts for that. A new turbo that's sitting at my house, a new intercooler core that's sitting at my house, a new radiator right there. So I'm not even going to show you guys me taking all this shit off. We'll just snap to the engine being pulled out, so that way we can figure out the damage. Okay, so it's light outside, so it's the next day, and as you guys know, if you follow the channel from the short that was released before this video, I was draining my fuel tank because I need to get the E85 out of this, because like I said at the beginning, we're doing a whole new turbo setup, and I have flex fuel down there. I have a Haltech flex fuel sensor, and it's all wired up, it's plumbed as well, but I was on an E85 only tune, and you can't tune backwards in Haltech. You have to go from 91 pump gas up to E85. You can't subtract from the fuel table. Anyway, so I've got to get all the E85 out of this, and I don't want it sitting in here any longer, so I was draining the tank. And to refresh you guys, I have a surge tank back here, and so underneath the carpet I have a Walboro 255 inside the factory tank, and then it runs to this surge tank, and then the surge tank recircs. I have both relays down here, and I emptied the tank. I had 10 gallons in the tank, and it's a 5-gallon surge tank. It's a pretty good, big surge tank. And so I was unplugging the fuses back there to stop the in-tank pump from running, and just running the Walboro in the surge tank. It's dead. The Walboro in the surge tank, when I turn the key, is not coming on. But when I put the fuse in the other one, the in-tank one works. So cause number one for blowing up the engine: I lost the fuel pump. How the fuck it's even running, I don't know. Yeah, fun. I assume we're going to find a lot more. I mean, there was a lot of pressure coming out of here. Like, took cycling the key probably 8-12 times with a 15-second interval to fill a 5-gallon tank. But yeah, you would think if it was a loss of fuel pressure, all 4 would have been blown, but who knows. It's still my fault because I didn't have fuel pressure safety on the ECU, so it's still my fault this thing blew no matter what. So I guess I'm going to keep the surge tank full of E85 for now, and we'll start disassembling the rest of this. And she is out. So after thinking about it further, I really think that a couple of togeys before the Arkansas, my 440 Walboro in my surge tank went out. The air fuels were looking weird. Like sometimes they were reading correctly, and sometimes it would just read all the way lean. But the performance felt the same. So I assumed, because my O2 sensor, the exhaust is out, my O2 sensor actually points down a little bit, so it's actually the lowest part of the car, and I've went through like 3 or 4 of them because I've been waiting to do this turbo swap, and I didn't want to do that or fix that bung just to build a new exhaust. But lesson to everyone: don't procrastinate, just fucking fix the problem. So because I had been having such issue with the air fuel sensor, I ignored my gauge. So I went on like a Spavinaw toge, I went on like one more toge, and then I went to the other toge, the Arkansas one. And the spark plug had overheated because it was lean. My 100%, I know that's what was causing it, is when I unplugged the number 4 or number 3 injector on the drive home, my air fuels were back to somewhat normal. They weren't normal, but they were somewhat normal. And if I had less pressure, unplugging one injector would give the rest more pressure and have the air fuel correct. So yeah, I blew this engine. SR20, still God's engine. This thing would still be running fucking solid if there wasn't a dumbass behind the wheel. But it's just a lesson to everybody, you know, don't ignore your equipment. There's a lot of stuff that I was ignoring because I just wanted to drive the car, and it's bit me in the ass. So next, we've got to tear the trans off, and I'm going to get it on the engine stand, which if nobody has ever put a Japanese engine on a engine stand, it's almost impossible to find the bolts. So I've got to pull some bolts out of here, figure out what the thread pitch is, and measure that and go buy bolts before we do that. So that's next step. And in literally 2 seconds, transmission's off. This one's really easy because I only have a half plate. I don't utilize the bottom part. I have a bracket that goes from here down to here, but that I have one there, and then I have another one through the oil pan right here. And that seems to be enough to hold the transmission, but it makes it really easy to take it off when it's on the ground because I don't have to lift it back up. So I just took the impact, undid all those. We've now got to take the clutch off, take the flywheel off, and take the adapter plate off, and then we'll get it on the engine stand. Oh, so funny that's a front wheel drive engine. With the manifolds on, it definitely looks like a rear wheel drive. But we've got it on. Interesting, the front wheel drive, there's really nothing for it to bolt onto on the intake side, so we got 3 over here, 1 over here. I don't know if y'all saw in the time lapse, but my spec clutch that's like 1 year old is already going. And I looked at the pilot bearing, and the pilot bearing has no play in it. You can't see in there. So that means this is sitting still, unlike the old transmission where the bearing was bad. So I've been a fan of spec clutches for a long time, but that's the second clutch on this setup that's doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to have to go with Jimmy and do action clutch this next go around, because they actually enclose these so there's no possible way for the spring to come out. But you can see that is a brand new disc. It barely has any wear on it, and it's already about to fucking throw those springs out. I clutch kick a lot, and I drive this like a race car, and I think I'm just driving it too hard for the clutch. But next step is to make this look front wheel drive again, pretty much. We need to tear this apart, tear this off, get this off. Might as well do the accessories, and then we can start taking the valve cover off. But it's Sunday, we'll save that for another. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. It's a Sunday. Getting over the flu this last week, so I'm not trying to do too much today. But I do kind of want to take the manifolds off and see if we can't look at the number 3 valve and see if we can't get a sneak peek before I take the valve cover, the cams, and the head off. So, let's do the 6 bolts, or 8 bolts, whatever. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, I can't count. It's 10. I don't know. I'm still sick. Leave me alone. Okay. Very simple. So I couldn't see, except you can see it could have just been sitting up here, the sand. But what's funny is it's not on any of the other cylinders, but there's definitely what looks to be sand. Maybe that's some of the ceramic. But right now, the only thing I can see is one valve is clean and one valve is dirty. So maybe the one on the right is the one that's bent. But they all look clean. So maybe the one on the left has been battered. I don't know. Why does that valve look different than all the rest? You can clearly see that much, but really can't see anything else, so off comes the turbo manifold. So we'll start. So we already know that the fuel pump quit. Our Walboro 455 fuel pump quit. So all the cylinders were running hot, as you can clearly see. So looking at this, I want to say that at least one oil ring's gone. This is oil, not unburnt fuel. That's oil. So I can't rip apart the block more, but I mean that's really all we needed to see. Fuck, man. Well, like I said, I have this block, which has a bad rod, but it should have good rings. God damn. So, I mean, I'll keep pulling it apart and we'll see the extent of the damage, but it's not just head issues.